Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheep Get Sheared podcast. I'm your host, Austin Creed, and today we're talking about your comfort zone. So, my friends, it's really easy in our lives to do the things we're comfortable with. We like to go outside the mold selectively, maybe if we feel like it, but most people want to live, they want the right to be comfortable. We want to feel like we're in a safe place. We don't want to risk too much, but we want to achieve as much as we can. We want to do the least amount of work for the most amount of return. Does any of this sound familiar? Of course it does, because that's our natural setting. Our natural setting says, okay, we want to survive. And to survive, we want to take the least amount of risk possible to have our food, our shelter, our ability to fornicate, and so on and so forth. We want all the luxuries of life, but we want to risk as little as possible because we don't want to put our survival or our perceived survival in jeopardy. But I'm here to wager to you, my friends, that we need to go beyond our boundaries for a couple of reasons. Number one reason is there's an old Latin saying, fortune favors the bold. It is those who have been great in history, who have risked, who have gone out there and who have either conquered, or they've converted, or they built an empire, they built a trading system, they forged their own dynasty, and a lot of these things were done over generations. And they change over time. I mean, for example, conquesting today wouldn't be conquering a bunch of land, per se, unless maybe you're Putin or something. But unless you're Putin, Mr. Putin, if you're listening, I'm not trying to insult you. But, my friends, when it comes down to it, conquesting today is having the ability to step out of the herd and to build your own lane and forge your own path. How many of you have the fortitude, the desire to just not be conforming to the culture, conform to what you're told to like, what you think other people want you to care about? Whether it's Taylor Swift or whether it's Kim Kardashian, it could be any of these people that you're told to care about, or that you think matters, or that, oh, I suddenly like them. I don't know why, but I do. That brings up another good point. It brings up another good question. My friends, why do you care about the things you care about? Now, you could care about something that doesn't matter to me. That's not the point. The point is, why do you like the music you like? Why do you like the TV shows you like? Why do you listen to the people you listen to, whether it's a podcaster or whether it's an influencer on Instagram or TikTok or whatever? Why do you consume the food, the entertainment, the education? Why do you consume the things you consume? I'll tell you a personal story. When I was growing up, which really wasn't that long ago, I was taught to have the Christian worldview. I was taught the more conservative side of things, and to a large extent, I'm very grateful for that. But there reached a point in my life when I became tested. Hard things happened. When I was in the military, my life changed a lot. I was put in very uncomfortable, difficult situations. And the way that I navigated through it was not by retreating away from those problems, was not by escaping mentally or physically or running away. The way I got through them was to stop and say, wait a minute, what is it I actually want? Because I cannot live my life by saying, I don't know what I want, but I certainly know what I don't want, and what I don't want is what I have. That is not the way to live. Because then you're always going to be living in this constant state of being unhappy, unsatisfied, not living up to the potential that you have, or even living the life that you want. You only get one life, according to what I know. So why in the world would you live that one life being safe, quote unquote safe, but not ever actually achieving much? It's comfortable at the bottom. but it is very vicious at the top. And you could work your whole life and not make it to the top. But as Babe Ruth famously said, it is hard to beat the person who doesn't give up. My friends, I'm not telling you need to go out there and become the next, billionaire entrepreneur. If you want, that's what I want to be. But that doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. You could go out there and just have another corporate job, or you could go out there and work for a nonprofit. You could do whatever you want. But I want to make sure that it's what you want, not what you think other people want you to want, or what you think other people will like you more. This idea of being liked is probably the worst part of conforming. It's the worst part of your comfort zone, because you're told that you're right if people like what you're doing. You're told that if somebody tells you you're doing good, then that means you're doing well. Or if people encourage you, or people one-up you or praise you or give you validation, that you must be correct. When I look here to wager, it's actually closer to the opposite. Because most people don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing it either, by the way. They just kind of do things. They're not bad things per se, but they're good for the people at the top. They're good for the people who you're working for, not necessarily for you. The problem, my friends, is, as I realize in my own life, you can only live for so long until you're forced to make a decision. Now, it could be one of those climax moments you see on a movie, or it could just be one of those small, ever so often increments of time when you think, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Why do I have the job I have? Why do I have the friends that I have? Why do I do the things that I do? And if you can't answer that question, then maybe you need to go back a couple steps and say, wait a minute, if I can't answer that, then how did I get here? Do I even want to be in the place that I find myself? Those are hard questions, and they're not going to be answered overnight. At least they shouldn't be. My friends, going beyond your boundaries and having the faith in yourself to take a leap, to go out and try something new, to have the courage to do the thing that you've always wanted to do, but people told you you couldn't do or shouldn't want to do, or that you have no chance. Don't let other people's doubts hold you back from doing difficult things. Don't let yourself be held back by other people's limitations. I know this could sound, hyperbolic or too philosophical and too abstract, but everybody's life is different. And part of this show is built around this idea of having your own personal philosophy. In Biblical Bachelor, along with relationships and personal development, that is the biggest takeaway from the book, is having your own personal philosophy that you develop. Not me, not your mom, not your boss, not your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever. It is for you to decide what you care about, what you want, and how you're going to get those things. It's up to you to do it. But most people don't even know what they want. They just know what they don't want, and they just seem to like the things they like, but maybe they haven't even asked themselves why. There are important questions in your life that you have to ask yourself if you want to get to the next level. And the hardest part's not asking the question, the hardest part's answering it. We need to answer hard questions. My friends, at the end of the day, the only person that can do that is you. And so if you want to pick up Biblical Bachelor and help you, then that's great. I would love for that to help you, but you don't have to do that. You could literally look up more YouTube videos, or you could listen to more of this show, or you could watch someone else's show. You can just go and live life and you'll figure it out eventually. But figuring life out sooner rather than later helps you enjoy life more, instead of wishing that you had done things differently in retrospect. To me, that's one of the worst things you can do. And I know some older people who do it. They wish they could go back in time, and that's part of the reason why certain stories of when people get reincarnated are so popular. It's because people wish that they could start their life over with the knowledge that they have, the mistakes they've made, the victories they've had, and whatnot. My friends, to go beyond your boundaries takes guts. And as we said earlier, fortune favors the bold, not the person who plays it safe. Because playing it safe is a shortcut to failure. If it was easy, everyone would do it and nobody would ever think twice about it. But because it's hard, that is the reason why we do it. To quote Kennedy, we go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. In this case, the moon is your ability to go beyond what you're currently doing something that maybe you wanted to do, but you never thought you could do it perfectly. Well, don't do it perfectly, just start. Just do it. And then eventually you'll get better at it. That's what happened with me on this show. You can look back at my older episodes, I wasn't all that interesting. I mean, I'm hard on myself, but I wasn't as engaging. I couldn't have this free-flowing dialogue that we're having right now. So I want you to live the best life you can. But it's not nearly enough for me to want it. You have to want it. And going back to questions, I encourage you to question everything you heard today. Whether it was from me, teacher, boss, significant other, whatever. Question everything, because then you get to decide the answer. My friends, take care of yourselves, and I hope that this encouraged you. I'm out of here. Peace.